Welcome to the Dr. Ini Adesanya podcast. I have various U.S. and international accounting and tax designations, a master's in tax, and a PhD in business administration with a concentration in finance and accounting. Over the past 2 decades, I have helped several SMEs succeed. This podcast will provide strategies and resources to help startups and existing businesses thrive. Let's get started. Okay, today I'm going to talk about payment options when it comes to tax returns, now focusing on business tax returns. Now, if you know that, you have an LLC, LLCs it depends on the number of owners, right? An LLC, if it's a SOAP, I'm speaking about the US here now. If an LLC has one owner, becomes a sole proprietorship. If an LLC has more than one owner, it's taxed as a partnership. When I say it becomes, not really based on the liability, but tax-wise, I'm speaking tax-wise. Now, so if you're owing taxes, right, your business might be on your personal return. So today we're talking about generally how to pay your business taxes. Sometimes people are not aware. I know I mentioned one of my tips in one of the podcasts. I talked about tax scams, that you should be wary of that when they call and say that, oh, it's time for you to pay your taxes. It's time for you to pay taxes by, without that, they'll take your social security number. I mean, that doesn't happen. Okay. So I'm just going to explain some ways. And then, of course, if you have a partnership, in a partnership is an information return. The partnership flows to the owners, it flows to the personal tax returns. And if you're an S Corp, the same thing, you don't pay taxes on an S Corp return. But in a C Corp, you do pay taxes and on the corporate, at the corporate level, the corporation pays taxes, right? So generally, how do you pay taxes? How do you pay outstanding taxes? Now, due dates differ, but even if you want to extend your preparing the due date, even though you file an extension for your return, you still have to pay the taxes on time. All right. So let's say apparently maybe, okay, you don't have, you're not able to do that. So what are some ways you can pay taxes, your outstanding taxes? Well, before I even talk about ways, right? Ways, I want to stress here, please and please and please and please and please. The reason why I'm putting so many pleases is because sometimes, right, people owe and they ignore letters coming into them, in for them, right? They ignore letters. They ignore deadlines. They just disregard, notices. And they get so angry when there are issues because they did not respond to letters on time. It might be a tax payment that was due, outstanding tax payment. And they just ignore the letter from the Internal Revenue Service. Now, when people do that and they get in trouble with the IRS and, they start garnishing wages and all kinds of stuff, I often remind them and I tell them, if somebody was owing you, right, and you send them letters, right, you send them letters, you notices, and the person ignores you, would you be happy? That's what I asked them. Would you be happy? Disregards, notices, everything you send to them, letter upon letter, right? Before then, you might not be able to take action, but IRS does take action. They can garnish your wages, they can take your property, they can do anything, right? I mean, in a business, in the case of a business, I've seen someone that really actually had to refinance their house to pay off a tax debt. And you don't want to get to that. You don't want to get there, right? So I'm just giving you some scenarios. So you make sure that you take things seriously, right? If you if you don't do that, I'll give you an example just to drive home my point. I remember that I had a client. They had sometimes people come and they have problems because maybe it could be that they're garnishing their wages, and because for a business they don't garnish wages, right? They garnish the accounts receivable. When money comes into the bank, they just take it from your bank. They just take. They send letters to your banks, and that's it. You don't even have access to your money, right? You don't have access, so you don't want to get there. And so I remember that there was a case like that. So I had to talk to the IRS and really get back and forth, submit documents for my client to make sure that this issue is resolved. And I remember that I had to go into the client's transcript. I needed to get documents to find out, okay, why reconcile the balance? How come is this amount? How come this is the total amount that is being owed, right? And I went through and I found out just from nowhere, randomly, there was a $25,000 fee, an amount there. And I remember when I was talking to my client, I asked, what happened here? And my client said, that there was a letter. This is why I'm very particular about letters, deadlines, when any government or when any regulatory authority, when they send anything to you, please respond. And so, I didn't respond. And, and I didn't think it was, that's how she was hit with $25,000 on a transcript, on the business transcript, right? Now, there was another client that the same scenario, because they asked a question and they said if she did not answer the question or respond to the inquiry, it was something to do with something that they wanted to clarify. The IRS wanted to clarify in her business. And I remember she brought it to me and we clarified it. And there was no $25,000 charge. Some of these things is just getting the documents, making sure, responding to them, and it's done. And so please, when you get any letter from any, not only the IRS, you might be in any country around the world, make sure you respond. Make sure, even if you need some time to make a payment, right? Just imagine the example I gave you, right? And somebody said, you know what? Thank you for your letter. I know I'm owing you. Please give me some time to pay. Isn't that better than just ignoring the person? Well, just picture it if it's the IRS doing that. If you put yourself in the same shoes with the IRS, you understand that when people ignore people, especially when you're owing tax debt, it's not nice, right? So I'm going to talk about a couple of ways you can pay, right? First of all, you can pay, of course, we know by credit card, right? Credit card, you can pay by electronic transfer. And then, of course, there's installment agreements. Things like life happens, right? Things happen to people. And sometimes people think that, the government is after them or things like that. But if you call them and tell them something happened and you explain, and it really makes sense that it happened, right? I know someone else that could not file taxes for a couple of years. And the very sad reason was that her daughter was sick, very sick of cancer, and she could not file her return. And she actually, when she came to me, we put it on in the file, typed it up, sent it, and said by certified mail. And because they too, they are human. So it's different from you just ignoring somebody. So call them and say, okay, electronic transfer. If you have the money, but there's installment agreement. There's even sometimes, they just say, okay, you know what, you can't pay for some time, and they work with you. Yeah. And another aspect is the having an offer in compromise. Some people don't know what's an offer in compromise, and an offer in compromise. So some people might not really know what's an offer in compromise. Now, there are some times that the IRS says there's an agreement that you come up with. It's not just like that, but processes. You have to fill some forms, fill some documents, and then eventually the IRS agrees. Offer in compromise, just like the name says, offer in compromise, OIC. offer in compromise. So what an offer in compromise does is that it says, you know what, that's fine. You're for this amount, maybe you're owing maybe 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, and so because of that, you can settle with 10,000. But it's not just a random number. There are some IRS goes through calculations. Of course, they ask you to ask for your financial position, financial position of the company, even the owners of the company, the shareholders, or the the members and things like that. So just to make sure they come up with an exact amount. All right. And we look at it. There's another way that you can pay, and this one is really not pay. Is called sort of a slight delay. It's called temporary delay in the collection process. All right. In this case, you say, you know what? Right now, I'm not doing well. Maybe I have some financial difficulty. I want to move it forward. I don't want to pay right now, but could you give me some time to pay? I want to move it forward. Maybe instead of paying maybe now, can I have 3, 6, 8, a couple of months, right, to pay, right? A couple of months to pay. To pay, that is a couple of months later. When I say to pay, meaning that a couple of months, 6, 7, it depends. I can't give you an exact number of months that the person is allowed to stop payment, right? Think factors are considered, and it's very important, again, for you to really, open up and really explain your situation, right? Really explain your situation, right? So I'm just really want to make sure that we all understand that there are options that when it comes to paying the Internal Revenue Service for any taxes your business owes. Do not ignore any letter. Do not ignore the Internal Revenue Service, any letter, even anyway, because there are state letters too. State letters. People ignore letters from the state, and they can. I've seen cases that people don't have access to the account anymore because of this issue of they're not paying money, right? So when I say access, yes, the accounts get frozen, right? All the accounts. So you don't want that to happen to you. And again, sometimes even if just to make sure that there's nothing like a tax scam happening, to you. I mentioned this in one of my other podcasts, but I want to reiterate here. If it happens, right, that that somebody comes and says, you know what, maybe the person walks into your office and says, you know what, you need to pay, you're owing the IRS, you're not comfortable, you're not sure, even the person shows you their badge, you're not sure, all you need to do is to tell the person that, you know what, I'm going to pay on the IRS website. Payment is so easy. How to pay your payment, the payment processing or process, not process, but processing, but the process is so straightforward. And so if you're not comfortable, if somebody shows up in your office and says, oh, you know what, payment, you have to pay, you're owing, say, okay, thank you, I will make the payment, give me 24 hours. Because you know what, it's an online payment and it's on Internal Revenue Service website. So make sure you are really, proactive, right? If you're owing taxes, make sure, that you're proactive in paying taxes as and when due. You need to step away, or when I say step away, if you need to extend the time of payment, you know what? Call the Internal Revenue Service, work on a payment plan. You can work out with your accountant, your representative, to talk to the Internal Revenue Service on your behalf. All right, but do not ignore them. All right. Okay. Today we have someone that has a business issue, and he will be discussing with us and telling us. He's a startup. He has a startup, and he's going to be discussing with us and telling us some of the issues he's having, and we're going to discuss it here. All right. But before we do that, I always like to I will talk. I'm going to go to one of our questions. I think this one was actually sent. Let's see. All right, let me get to one of our questions. Okay. One of the questions here, I'm going to read this out. This particular one out. Okay, let's see that. Oh, let me see. Or actually, I think there's one. Let me see, because I know I've been getting questions on this, and let's see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, close.
I do have our last question, and it's more of taxes. My question is, how do I avoid paying too much taxes?
Okay, this question is about taxes, paying too much taxes. I know that in a previous podcast, I explained that you can increase your expenses, right? There are so many other ways. I'm going to actually tackle this in one of my live podcasts. It's going to come up. Live podcast is starting on October 11th, but it will be broader than just answering this specific question. But of course, how do you pay less taxes? You make sure that you're actually reducing the reducing your tax liability by making sure that you're getting all the credits, all the every incentive out there. Okay, and also in addition to that, to reduce your taxes, make sure you're claiming all your expenses, right? Make sure you're claiming all your expenses, any expenses, which you can go to my previous podcast. You will hear what I said. One of my previous podcasts, but I'm really going to go in depth regarding this question. This is just high level. We want Jesse to have enough time because we're entering segment 3. So we were looking at him having enough time to, discuss some of his challenges in his startup. He actually just started a company and he just had a couple of questions, and I'm hoping that we will learn from that. Okay, I think he was trying to. Is your audio good now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah. Awesome. We love it. Technology, we love it, but sometimes things happen. So I was saying that Jesse has been, he actually he has a startup, I believe he's an IT engineer and he has a startup, and so software engineer. So he has a couple of questions, and I want hopefully that we'll be able to get something through, by our discussion here, that someone listening to this discussion or will actually benefit from it. So yeah, go ahead. Yes. You just started a company, and do you have any challenges, any challenges in the company at all?
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. So one of the challenges, like you said, I just started a startup, so I'm pretty new. So one of the challenges that I mainly face, especially in my particular field, is how do you go about, I guess, finding clients, recruiting clients in my particular field. So I'm doing IT consulting. So that's there's a lot of already big, companies are already working in that space. So how do you think you should go about looking for talent, looking for clients?
Okay. I mean, one of the things, I think we actually brought a marketing specialist. So you can go back and listen to one of our podcasts. But I would ask how are you marketing, first of all? That's what I would ask you. First of all, how are you marketing?
Yeah. So what I was trying to do was I was trying to find. So my company is located in Texas. It was registered in Texas. So one thing I was trying to do was figure out if I could find a database of like all the I guess businesses that are registered in Texas. So particularly small businesses who I would think will benefit from moving their like their IT infrastructure,
Services.
yeah,
Yes.
to like a cloud provider. So I was looking just to see if I can find like a database where all the because this is all public information, all the businesses are registered. So I was trying to see if I can find a database that way. And the reason why I did that is because I don't have the budget right now to hire a marketing team. So
Yes, and that's an awesome question because again, I'll highlight some of the things that our marketing experts said. One thing about small businesses and medium-sized businesses is that we have limited resources. I continue to stress this, and so we have to stretch our resources. Now, regarding marketing, right? One thing that our marketing experts said was, going out there to let them know what you actually do. I'm sure you have a website right now. That's one thing. And also letting people know who you are. Now, you're saying that you want to get a database for everybody, but you have to be specific. Are you going to do what kind of businesses? You have to look at, what's your target market, right? Texas is a huge state, right? So you have to really zero in what's your target market. One of the things that she said, and which I also tell people, social media is a very, very great way to market, right? It's a very great way to market. Now, how well are you using social media? Because it's a great way and it's a cheap way to market. It's one of the cheapest way to market. Now, I don't know if you want your clients to be within Texas or around Texas, or because what you do, you can have not within, around, in other states. When I say around, other states. So is it that you want to localize it? If you want to localize it, you have to look at, okay, Texas, right? You want to go into clients that in the medical field, small business, small clinics. You want to go to people that are into maybe small restaurants, little restaurants, like, what is it that you're looking at? Because it's really wide. You can actually, I believe that you have a niche. You say, oh yeah, we're specialists for restaurant companies, or we're specialists for this, and really let people, and then of course you go. I think more of networking is also good, because if you want to major in restaurants, when they have restaurant meetings with restaurants, you go there when networking meetings, you go there, show what you have, right? When you want to maybe talk about, you're focusing on doctors, right? You make sure you are really involved in their organization. You'll really find out. Sometimes even if you advertise there, maybe in one of their brochures, right? Like things like that. So I would say, because again, remember, we're just talking about small businesses, limited resources. What do we do, right? And I think that first of all, you have to define your target market. You can't say the whole of Texas, right? Define your target market, and then also move, like find out what you can do, like with them, right? As I said, I gave an example, the marketing lady, I'm not going to give up everything, because I really want you to go and listen to it very detailed. And I really appreciated what she said, because she said it's something like you have to be proactive, intentional, right? Yes, there are people out there, but there's something like really seeing a face, right? With, seeing someone that, oh, I know this person, right? I know this person because he's part of our doctors' meetings, right? He comes around, and sometimes it might not be the first time, it might take some time for you to build, right? Or you go, yeah, I know them because he's part of our restaurant meeting. He's part of our restaurant meeting. So what are you really looking at? So sit back and look at what is your target market, not the whole of Texas, so what is your target market? What kind of businesses do you want to work with, right? And because if you're saying you want to work with 80 business, you have to really say, Texas is millions of people in Texas. So many businesses are also in Texas. So first of all, define your target market. Then you sit back and know, then you can actually strategize, network meetings and things like that. Yeah. Okay. Hope that helps. Any other thing that,
I think that's a really good advice, because like I said, I said Texas because I just wanted to start off in Texas, but I just figured out, if I can find a database, because Texas is more local than it's global. So
yes.
But yeah, defining, and I didn't really even think about, like, breaking it down into, like, okay, specific like in specific markets, like, healthcare.
Exactly.
Like that. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yes.
good advice.
Yeah, because
So,
a lot of
now,
small business, go ahead, because a lot of small businesses, like the HR lady that came, not too long ago, she said the issue, a lot of small businesses, they want to outsource. They don't want to bring an IT engineer, software engineer in-house. They can't afford it. So what happens now? People are outsourcing, and that's a good market. So you will find, but you have to do it well. Go ahead.
are you saying? Oh, are you saying small businesses are outsourcing?
Yeah, they're outsourcing. That is, when I say outsourcing, they're looking for, like, I mean, they can hire a software engineer to come and work in their office. So they prefer actually outsourcing, right? And when I say outsourcing, oh, yes, Jessie, engineer, Jessie, can she a software engineer? I need your help. You know what? I need your help to come and make sure that, so, and also, are you just doing software? Are you also just focusing on, are you when you say IT consultant, that's another thing. It's very broad. So let people know what you do, because I'm your background. I know it's software engineering, but I know you do other things, right? So let people know, because someone, maybe a small business might say that, you know what, I don't really want to, I don't want to get a software right now, but what do? You maintain software. You have to get a website and clearly tell people, what is it that you do? What can you give them? What is it? What kind of service are you providing? Right? Not just the IT consultant. We know IT is so broad. So you have to be specific. So when you're advertising, you say, I do this, or we do this. All right? Okay. Hope that helps.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
And I have, I guess, one more question. So I think you mentioned it just a little bit. So in terms of work, like, hiring, let's say I wanted to bring somebody in, because right now this would be, I guess I forgot to mention, this will also be like, because I'm working a job, right, a regular job, right, while trying to build this company. So I'm definitely going to be looking into maybe hire somebody part-time, or a W-4 worker, W-2. I mean, it's W-4 because, contract. So what is your advice when it comes to, hiring? Because I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think you have to have W-2 workers to take advantage of, like, tax breaks or any of that. So what is it? How does all that work?
Well, there's something, there's a difference between a W-2 and a 1099, and 1099 are contract workers, right? Mm-hmm. W-2 are employees, right? Of course, and I tell people that this all the time, you cannot say that, you cannot really, I mean, well, you can choose to hire a 1099 or a W-2, but when it comes to, you have to look at your relationship to really define if that's really a 1099 or a W-2 person, right? Worker, right? If the person is working on their own and you're just giving the person projects here and there, of course, we look at everything, the whole picture. Maybe you can say it's a 1099, but you have to look at the big picture to see if really you can classify that person as a 1099 or a W-2. So it's not really, it's not really as, and what works is just how you want to structure it. I know for 1099s, you don't pay employment taxes for those 1099s, right? For W-2s, you have to pay employment taxes, all kinds of, specific taxes, for that person. So you just have to know what works best for you based on certain factors. So, but make sure you're choosing well, because you don't want to have a worker that is supposed to be a W-2, but you're paying them as a 1099. Your small business will get in trouble. There'll be trouble. There's a lot of issues with classifying of your workers correctly. All right. So make sure you're doing that. And then, we had someone that spoke about HR. So one of our podcasts, we had an HR specialist that came and spoke about things like staff handbooks and things like that. So, I also advise you to also look into it. But a good idea to hire someone to support you, because one thing that people do, they want growth. They want growth, but they're not ready for the growth. I tell people, you want growth, prepare for growth, right? You want growth, you want more customers, more clients, prepare for it, put things in place. And I love what he's saying. He's saying that, you know what, I'm putting things in place. I'm thinking of, you know what, it's going to be big. I want someone to work with me. A lot of people, a lot of small businesses, they're all about running after clients, running after customers, but they don't sit back and say, okay, how do I structure my business so that I can be ready for growth? I can be ready for, okay, if I hit a certain threshold, I want to be ready. I don't want to say, you know what, I don't want to say I'm not taking any. Well, you might say I'm not taking any more clients, but again, you have to look at what works and what is your threshold. You might say, okay, after 50, after 100, or because he's in IT, as I said, maybe you can say after 200, 300, or maybe 50, whatever, but he has to be ready for growth, right? You cannot be pursuing clients on customers and you're not ready for growth. It's like people that, make products that they sell, and yet there's always stock out. Oh, we don't have it. That is stock out cost, meaning that money that you could have made, you're not able to make it, right? Because those products are not available, and yet you're still marketing, and you're spending money on marketing, but you cannot meet the needs of your customers. That is not working, right? That is not working, or that I should say, it doesn't work if you want to actually thrive. Because after some time, your customers will say, these people or this person does not have what I need, so I'm stepping away. So I don't want to use him or her, or I don't want to buy from this company anymore. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Oh, no problem. Thank you for coming. And I'm hoping that anyone listening will actually learn from what we've discussed today. And thank you for actually sharing your challenges, because I think it's helpful, and we're able to discuss, and hopefully, again, I'm sure, hopefully somebody will be able to get something from this. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Okay, bye. Okay, bye. I'm very happy that Ms. Osano was able to come in and discuss some of these challenges. I'm hoping that somebody was able to get something from this discussion and from this podcast. So, of course, this podcast is also on YouTube, so you can see the video too. So, see you next time. And again, we should be live next week, which is October 11th. All right. Okay, bye for now. Thanks for having me. Remember to join my live podcast on Tuesdays, 6 to 6:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. Visit my website, driniadesanya.com, for details. Till next time, bye for now.